What's poppin'? It's your boy Sim and your man Tony, ladies and gentlemen. And, we're going to break down the fallout from Will Smith slapping Chris Rock last night at the Oscars. And I see somebody in the chat, saying, people love making money off of foolishness. Well, I'll just tell you, don't watch. That's all you got to do. Go watch something else. Anyway, if you did not see what happened last night, I'm going to go ahead and throw this across the screen so you can see what happened last night, and then we'll get into and we'll talk about the fallout from it, ladies and gentlemen. So at the Oscars, Chris Rock said some things that Will Smith didn't like about Jada. He said, Jada, I love you, but I can't wait to see G.I. Jane 2. And Will Smith took offense to that. And this is what happened, ladies and gentlemen.
どうなんでしょうか。
Wow. Will Smith just smacked the shit out of me.
ウィル・スミスにやられました。
Thi- Wow, dude.
Yeah.
It was a G.I. Jane joke.
Keep my wife's
G.I. ジェーンのジョークだったんです。
fucking mouth.
I'm going to.
どうなんでしょうか。
All right. And there you go, ladies and gentlemen. So that's what happened at the Oscars on stage, live in front of everybody. All right. Will Smith stormed the stage, slapped Chris Rock, expressed that he was upset. You know what I mean? Afterwards, well, obviously he expressed that he was more than upset about it. You know what I mean? Afterwards, you could see Denzel Washington and who else was it? Tyler Perry, Denzel Washington and Tyler Perry, having some words with Will Smith, about exactly what happened. And, trying to calm him down, keep him cool, keep him under control. Right? And, obviously speculation begins about, well, why did Will Smith get so upset? And for the most part, people believe this is the reason why right here. Jada Pinkett-Smith a couple of months ago expressed to everybody that she's dealing with alopecia. And from what we can gather, Will Smith was upset about the joke that Chris Rock used. All right, so this is Jada Pinkett-Smith, ladies and gentlemen. Take a listen.
Now, at this point, I can only laugh. Now, y'all know I've been struggling with alopecia, and just all of a sudden one day, look at this line right here. Look at that. Look at that. And so it just showed up like that. Now, this is going to be a little bit more difficult for me to hide. So I thought I'd just share it so y'all not asking any questions. But Mama's going to put some rhinestones in there. And I'm just going to make me a little crown. That's what Mama's going to do.
Okay, so Tony, after sleeping on it last night and thinking about the entire incident, and we have some more stuff, ladies and gentlemen, with the entire fallout, but I want to talk with Tony a little bit just about the incident and what you think about it now. We had a discussion about it last night after it just happened. It was fresh on our minds, you know what I mean? So we was trying to piece things together and just get on. You know what I mean? Now, we've had a chance to sit on it a little bit. What's your thoughts about it, Tony?
I definitely feel like this is a personal issue. Like there's a history behind it, because I don't think the joke in itself warranted the reaction. And I feel like, Will Smith had a weak moment where he lost it. And especially with the character that he his personality and his image, this is like far left from his image. So he had a moment of weakness, and it's confusing because he seemed to laugh at the joke initially, and his wife didn't, and then the camera cuts off, and then you see him walk up on stage. So, I would be interested to know if there's the angle that caught their reaction before he got up, or did he just have like a moment of where he was laughing and then just got up angry? You know what I mean? Like it was a little confusing.
Yeah, and sometimes a laugh comes in anger too. You know what I'm saying?
That is true.
You know what I mean? Like, you kind of have a little chuckle like, all right, you know what? I had enough of this. You know what I mean? I'm about to handle my business now. You know what I mean? So sometimes that laugh comes out of anger. It's tough. Just like last night, still a tough situation. You don't know what they're going through as a family. You know what I mean? That being said, I think Will Smith, he could have just spoke to him backstage. Or if he wanted to let everybody else know that was there that, he was upset about this, he could have yelled from his seat or went up on stage and said, let me see the mic for a second. You know what I'm saying? Now, so I don't want to make it look like I'm coming down on Will Smith because I applaud him for protecting his wife. I just don't think he had to slap him on stage. You know what I'm saying? I think you could have grabbed the mic and just said, yo, don't talk about my fucking wife. You know what I'm saying? Or keep my wife's name out your fucking mouth. That's what it said. Right? You could have easily did that. So I'm not upset at him protecting his wife. I just think he didn't have to go on stage and do it like that. You know what I mean? It's in the same aspect, I know you feel a little bit differently than me. I feel like Chris Rock, if he knew that she had alopecia, it could have been a little bit insensitive, especially in a live audience in front of a whole lot of people, and they're sitting there front row. Could have been a little bit insensitive. You know what I'm saying? So that's where, both parties, were maybe wrong in the way that they handled things. You know what I mean? I think I read somewhere that earlier in the show, there were people who were actually, doing some jokes on Jada. I didn't watch the entire show, but, there were some jokes out there on, about Jada and her hair and things like that. And maybe it just reached a boiling point for Will. You know what I mean? So I don't know. There's more to talk about. There's definitely a lot more to talk about. Will Smith actually received an Oscar that night, or not that night, last night, okay, for his role in King Richard. And he gave a speech about, he gave a speech. And the speech, he didn't really mention the incident, but he kind of alludes to the incident, all right, and maybe where he's coming from. So I do want to let you know, while we're listening to this speech, we'll be stopping and having a discussion throughout the speech, to make sure that we don't get flagged and make sure we're doing this the correct way. So be patient with us, all right? This is Will Smith. His speech after he received his Oscar.
Oh, man. Richard Williams was a fierce defender of his family.
All right, let me stop it right there. So right there, you heard what he said. Richard Williams was a fierce defender of his family, and you see him on the screen, he's smiling about it, right? I mean, I think that right there obviously alludes to the incident, right? Would you say, Tony? Right? A clear, yep, I'm protecting my family, right? All right, let's go on further. Again, ladies and gentlemen, be patient with us as we're, breaking this down like this. Let's listen to some more.
In this time in my life, in this moment, I am overwhelmed by what God is calling on me to do and be in this world. Making this film, I got to protect Ingenue Ellis, who was one of the strongest, most delicate people I've ever met. I got to protect Sanaya and Demi, the two actresses that played Venus and Serena.
All right, I want to stop it right there. Tony, when we were talking last night, I forgot what it's called, but you said something about an actor still being caught up in a role. Do you think, after hearing this, do you think that plays anything into Will Smith's reaction to Chris Rock and getting up on stage and slapping him, et cetera, et cetera?
Do I think that? To be honest, I would have to watch the movie because I didn't see the movie.
Okay.
To see, how the actual role that he played. Otherwise, I'd just be making something up.
I seen the movie twice. Right? And in the movie, he was definitely a protector, the father.
Okay.
Right? I mean, they went to the park and they were, practicing. And, some dude, gangster dude or whatever, was trying to get at one of the sisters, one of the daughters. And, he went up to him and told him, like, yo, you got to leave her alone, blase, blase, blah. Right? And he actually got beat up doing that. Something else happened again, and he went and he told him, he said, yo, I told you to leave my daughter alone, da-da-da. He got jumped again. So this time, he got his gun. And he went around to where the dude and his boys eat, hang at, whatever. And he was getting ready to go, do whatever. But somebody else drove by at the same time and shot the dude. You know what I'm saying? So he was definitely a protector. And then throughout the movie, he would, just about how they became a professional tennis player. Right? How Venus became a professional tennis player. He protected her the whole way. I'm not going to let you just put her out there and throw her to the wolves. I'm going to make sure she gets her schooling done. I'm going to make sure she has a life as a child. All of these things he had to protect. He was protecting his daughters. So just hearing that, do you think some of that, somewhere, it made him look at his life and say, I got to protect my family too?
I thought based off of the speech that's what he was referencing, or that's what he was, I don't want to say using as an excuse, but that's the first thing that came to my mind when I heard the introduction of the speech. I was like, or he's trying to say, he's still stuck in that role or character. So, I mean, I think it's merit to it. I think it's definitely merit to it. It's possible, and it wouldn't be the first time I've heard of, that happening to an actor. But I also think, I don't think that role should have done that like that as a man. You know what I mean? That should be who you are already anyway. Yeah. You know what I mean? So, but maybe it's it's intensified it.
Right, but sometimes you do things, and like, just something comes to the realization to you, and you be like, maybe I need to do this more. You know what I'm saying? Especially given, where we are. Like just him studying about who that man was and how he did things for his family maybe made him say, I need to do something a little bit more. You know what I mean? I don't know. But, from what he's saying, it seems plausible that this is something that affected the way that he feels about how he's been as a father so far and a husband and things like that. Maybe, possibly. Let's finish listening to what he had to say.
I'm being called on in my life to love people and to protect people and to be a river to my people. And I know to do what we do, you got to be able to take abuse. You got to be able to have people talk crazy about you. In this business, you got to be able to have people disrespecting you. And you got to smile and you got to pretend like that's okay. But Richard Williams, and what I loved, thank you, D. Denzel said to me a few minutes ago, he said, at your highest moment, be careful, that's when the devil comes for you.
All right. Now, and of course, that was the picture that you seen with Denzel Washington that we showed a little bit earlier. That was probably the point in which he told Will Smith that. From what you heard, he said, he feels like now he's been called to be a protector. Right? So it does seem like that role maybe has some impact on the way he feels about his life and who he is as a person.
He probably learned some things.
Mm-hmm.
Learned some things. Probably play a role and say, man, if I would have took this approach earlier, in my life, in this situation or that situation, and so it definitely could impact his life moving forward, and maybe change some things or intensify some things that or already was there. So I agree. When I first heard him say, God has put me in this position, I'm like, God told you to slap him?
I mean, I don't think it takes away from, with what he said. I get it, cool. You're feeling like, you have to be a protector and stuff like that. I understand it. That's all. That's all good. I don't think it takes away from the action. You know what I mean? I still don't think you had to do it that way. And the crowd. You hear the crowd cheer. Cheer him on because, they hear what Chris Rock said. Which wasn't, totally egregious, but I do understand, being upset about, somebody, speaking on your wife, right? And they have history, right? You know what I mean? In 2016, Chris Rock said some stuff about Will and Jada at the Oscars. Okay, I'm not going to show that video, but I will read it to you. Okay, you remember in 2016, the Oscars were being boycotted by black actors.
Oscars so white. Hashtag
Oscars so white. Yeah, exactly. Right. And in his monologue, remember, Chris Rock decided that he would be the MC for the event. And, there was some uproar about that. But in his monologue, he said, Jada said she's not coming. She's protesting. And I was like, isn't she on a TV show? And then he said, Jada boycotting the Oscars is like me boycotting Rihanna's panties. I wasn't invited. All right, so obviously that was a shot, at Jada, for not being invited to the Oscars, or not being nominated or anything like that. Fair shot. Okay. And then he also went on to talk about Jada being upset and not showing up to the Oscars or not going to the Oscars because Will Smith wasn't nominated for his role in the movie Concussion, right? And then Chris Rock goes on to say, it's not fair that Will was this good and didn't get nominated. You're right. It's also not fair that Will was paid $20 million for Wild Wild West. Now, these aren't anything, crazy that he said, funny jokes. I don't know if they, took offense to it or not. You know what I'm saying? They may have taken offense to it. Also, there was one time when Will Smith apparently went on Instagram and said happy birthday to his ex-wife. And under that message to his ex-wife, Chris Rock went up there and said, you must have an understanding wife, talking about Jada. You know what I'm saying? For you to come out and say happy birthday to your ex-wife. You know, so I don't know if there's any venom left over from that stuff. You know, that was a while ago, but still, there could be some venom left over from that stuff. You know what I mean? Or maybe Will was, you know, just fed up hearing with some things and took it out on Chris. You know what I mean? Either way, Chris Rock is not pressing charges on Will Smith. All right, in the LAPD, they are aware of the incident. And this is the official statement from the LAPD. It said, LAPD investigative entities are aware of the incident between the two individuals during the Academy Awards program. The incident involved one individual slapping another. The individual involved has declined to file a police report. If the involved party desires a police report at a later date, LAPD will be available to complete an investigative report. Any thoughts there, Tony, about, I mean, I think it's the right thing to do. You know, whether or not you feel he crossed the line, he knows that, you know, he said something that could be personal, and you know what? I said what I said. Sometimes sometimes you got to deal with the consequences. I'm not going to press charges. Do you agree with Chris Rock and not pressing charges?
Mm-hmm. It depends. It depends. Like, if he not gonna give me a fade, then I gotta press charges. You know what I mean? But if we could figure something out, you know what I mean? Go in the back room for 5 minutes or something and square off. Then you know, we can let bygones be bygones. But I think there has to be some repercussions. You know, some type of retribution in some way, shape, or form. And then again, if it is personal, if it is some you know, something behind it, there's smoke behind it, I don't know. Maybe that's a come up, or maybe it's not. I don't know. I think it's stand up for him not to, you know what I mean, not to press charges. It's a stand up thing to do. I think he handled it great at the time. You know what I mean, kept the show moving, didn't make it a bigger spectacle than it could have been.
Right.
So I actually commend him for not doing it.
I'm gonna tell you what, you know.
A lot of money.
And we got some other issues we're going to talk about beyond this. I know some people are asking some questions. We got some other issues we're going to talk about as it pertains to this. But when he got smacked, wow, it sounded like a punch, but I think it was a smack, right? It sounded like a punch, and he ate it, right? And it sounded like he was making a joke. And this is going to not lead into right now, but later on we're going to discuss whether or not this was staged or if it was set up. But it sounded like, I mean, after he got smacked, you know, he stood right up like, wow, Will Smith just smacked the shit out of me, right? And the way he said it sounded as if he was saying a joke, right? And then Will Smith, you know, obviously walks back to the seat, and they had the conversation that they had. But, you know, he stands right back up in the stands. Boom, I'm ready to go. I'm going to continue to do what I'm doing. As a man, that's a hard thing to do, right? You know, you're on stage, you know, however, thousands of people in the audience, millions of people across the world watching, and you get smacked by another man. Me, personally, I wouldn't have been able to do what he did. I know I would have been shocked at first that I got slapped, but as he was walking away, I swear to God, I would have put him in the sleeper hole. You know what I'm saying? And they would have had, it would have been security rushing to the stage or whatever, because it would have been on and popping right there, and it would have cleared out the Oscars, because I'm not letting another man smack me in the face. You know what's crazy? I'd rather get punched in the face than slapped in the face. And I don't understand how that makes sense to me, but I'd rather get punched in the face than slapped.
Yeah.
Slap feels like it's more disrespectful. You know what I'm saying? That's weird to me. I don't know.
And it looked like It looked like one of them YouTube videos of the world slapping competition where people see who could take a slap before they quit. Like like it looked like Will participated in that before
Right.
because oh man.
Looked like a pimp slapping one of his hoes. That's what it looked like. You know what I mean? So I agree with you. I guess you got to kind of commend him for for standing in there and remaining professional while he was on TV and doing those things and doing it like that, because I know I wouldn't have been able to do it. I wouldn't have been able to, man. Wouldn't have been able to do it. Ladies and gentlemen, you can call in 516-405-2246. I would like to hear your perspective. All right, I'm going to put the phone number in the chat, okay? And so that you can call in and give your perspective. 516-405-2246, and it's going to be pinned to the top of the chat. If anyone comes in that hasn't been in and they ask if they can call in or whatever, you can point to and let them know that it's pinned to the top of the chat. So I'd like to hear you. I'd like to hear your perspective on what's happening and what's going on. Do you think, Tony, there should be some repercussions for Will Smith? And what? You're muted, Tony. And what? And what are those repercussions?
He doesn't have that bad reputation, so I think he could probably avoid any type of like loss of revenue behind it, Will Smith. But I think like between Chris Rock, I think he gotta shoot him a fade. Like they gotta meet somewhere, or whether it's a celebrity boxing match for charity, or what I mean, a Triller fight, or whatever it is. I think they gotta square up.
They gotta do something. I
think that's the best way.
They gotta do something. Maybe Swiss Beats can do a versus. You know what I'm saying? The best comedy clips from the two. I don't know. It's got to be something. You know what I mean? Like, if I'm Chris Rock, I'm not willing to sit down and talk right now with Will. I'm mad, so you know what I mean. I don't want to just sit down and have a conversation with him. I'm gonna be angry, and I kind of agree with you a little bit. Like I'm ready to fight. They're gonna say, I'm kind of ready to fight a little bit. And one, show Will and show the world that I'm not soft, because I'm sure there's a lot of people looking and saying, Chris Rock kind of soft. You know what I'm saying? Like Will Smith was confident enough that he can go up there and smack Chris Rock and nothing was going to happen to him.
Brooklyn is not liking that right now.
And Philly is like, what? You know what I mean? Let me get to the caller. Isaiah, what's popping, man?
No, what's going on, Tony?
What's going on, man? What's your thoughts, man? Talk to us. What's your thoughts?
I was trying to get on the show, man.
We can maybe get you on here in a little bit.
Yeah. Just send me a link whenever you're ready. But nah, man, I can't even lie. I don't even know. I woke up and I was like, wait, why am I getting reports about Will Smith smacking Chris Rock? That was random. The situation. I'll be real with you though, man. I know it's funny, but it's like I've had conversations with people like throughout this whole morning, and I think it's deep, man. I think Will Smith is at a breaking point right now, and it just so happened that Chris Rock had to be the one to get it. I feel bad because I think this is deeper than just the whole alopecia thing with the wife and the hair. I think it's just all this thing that's going on, man, and I really do think Will's at his breaking point, and I think that was just one of the things to break the camel's back. It's crazy because I think Chris Rock did a beautiful job. I mean, the joke, it got to the point I was like, J.I. Jane, I didn't get the reference. I had to go look it up to get the reference, and I was like, oh, that makes sense. I mean, I don't know if everybody. Again, I don't know. People assume that people know that she had alopecia. Everybody doesn't know that. You know what I'm saying? People could be like, she went bald. She decided to go bald.
I mean, she put it out there publicly that she has it.
No, she put out public, but that doesn't mean Chris Rock conceived it.
Right? You can't assume that Chris Rock knew.
Yeah, I mean, Chris Rock. Listen, man, these people in their own world. I remember one time. I mean, even though Lil Wayne might be old different. I mean, Lil Wayne thought the Migos was a person.
Right.
He just hard-heartedly didn't know that they were a group. He really didn't know. So I mean, again, everybody, we can't just assume that he knows that she had alopecia. Was the joke a little distasteful? I mean, I thought it was. I mean, again, I didn't even think it was. I thought it was funny. I didn't think it was like. I thought it was lighthearted. I mean, listen, there was literally. Like before that, Regina Hall, one of the hosts, made a joke about their marriage, made a joke about their open marriage and everything.
Right. But the thing is for me, right? You know, that's something that they put out there themselves. You know, they kind of put out there that you know what they do, et cetera, et cetera. And maybe, you know, because I heard that there were jokes about them going on. Maybe Will Smith was just fed up with all the jokes that was going on.
That could be another reason, too. That could be another one.
And he ended up taking it out on Chris Rock, you know what I'm saying, because all the jokes were coming. You know, I can't say if Chris Rock knew about the alopecia or not. Obviously, you know, Jada Pinkett-Smith put it out there. But if he knew about it, you know what I mean? I think it's kind of distasteful.
Yeah, if he wholeheartedly knew about it and made a joke about it, that's a whole thing. But we don't know. Clearly he's not gonna say. Clearly he's not gonna say he knew now.
I think at some point he's gonna make a statement. You know what I mean? We don't know what that statement's gonna be. At some point he's gonna make a statement.
I do want to say this though.
Well, let me just say one thing. Maybe Will Smith's response is due to the fact that he knew that Chris Rock knew.
That could be another thing. That could be another thing.
Which could make it personal between the two.
Yeah, but I don't think even with, like I was saying off air, even with that being said, I don't think it was like I was saying, it's not a joke on the cause. It's a joke on the effect. So you know what I mean. It's not a joke on that she has the condition. It's the effect of the condition that is being made fun of. But, and even with that being said, I don't think it was over the line or over the top because she's there in the public eye. She wasn't trying to hide it. It's not like she had a wig on and he exposed it.
I agree with that, Tony. I agree with that.
I agree,
if
but
she had a wig on.
I agree, but I know I would feel offended. You know what I'm saying? If someone that I know knew that I had it and they made that joke, you know, in front of millions of people, I would feel offended by it. That's me personally. You know, I'd be like, "Yo, come on," you know. I don't.
But you also, like but you also know what those said, and I do want to jump on because I do want to share this. Is that like the Will Smith kind of how can I say? He put Chris Rock in. He put a lot of comedians in a tough situation now. I believe because look, and I went through this too. I did a comedy show before where I said some things and some people felt some type of way in the crowd, but you work those things out and you do things and sometimes like I went to the person I apologized to them because I said something crazy, but they said something crazy back. So I mean it happens. It's fan interaction, but I think when Will put his hands on him, I thought that was bad because I do agree because I was listening to the show. I do agree with you. I wish he could have put a Kanye, grabbed the mic and been like, "Yo, don't talk about my wife. Don't talk about my effing wife. Don't do this." But when you put your hands on somebody, then you're giving people an open thing where if I go to a comedy show, if I don't like them, I'm gonna do this. Or if because comedians always go off script. Like you say, you always see you see a funny dude in there dressed maybe crazy or do this, or you just see a funny moment and you talk about the person. And then now you got people like, oh, Will Smith can touch Chris Rock.
No, no,
Then-
but I agree with you. I agree with you, right? But I think, you know, if you see somebody dressed funny, I think that's a little bit different. I just think that's a little bit different. You know what I'm saying?
No, I agree with you so much, but here's the thing, though.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know how that person's gonna feel.
You don't. You
know
but,
what I mean?
I think talking about somebody's clothes and a condition are two very different things.
No, you're right. You're right.
I just think those two are very, very different. Talking about someone's clothes, you know, the hat that they got on. I just think it's two very. I just feel like it's two very different things.
See, but I
No,
think
I agree with you.
that's where I disagree, because I don't think he was really talking about the condition, right? If you make a if someone has
Hey, Sim, could you send me the link, Sim?
eating
I gotta
disorder,
take a call.
right?
Yeah.
And you know about
thank you,
the
man.
eating disorder, and then you make the joke about being skinny, I don't think you're making fun of the disorder. You're making fun of.
But I think it kind
the
of
effect of it.
I think it kind of is. I think it kind of is. If I know that this person deals with an eating disorder where they don't eat their food, and then I make a joke about them being skinny, or even if it's I make a joke about them being skinny, right? I think I'm being very insensitive to their eating disorder. You know what I'm saying?
I
I'm being
agree, it's
very
insensitive.
insensitive to them and saying like I think that's very insensitive at that point, you know, because I'm like, yo, that person is probably gonna be like, yo, you know what I'm dealing with, and then you're gonna laugh about the result of what I'm dealing with. You know what I'm saying? Because it's a clear result of what they're dealing with, and then, you know, like the caller was saying last night, you know, alopecia is something that impacts people of color.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? How does it affect white people, Caucasians? I'm not sure. Right? If it does, you can't really see it. But, you know, for black men and women, you know, right? Because your skin starts to, you know, you start to get white blotches and things on your skin, and you have issues going on with your hair and things like that. So, you know, now you might become sensitive with the way that you look. You might become sensitive. It's not life-threatening, but you might, I know several people who have it. You know, you might become sensitive with the way that you look, you know, the way that you feel about certain things. And you know, those jokes, you know, things like that can become pretty sensitive. You know,
I agree, but that's the realm of comedy. You know what I mean? Like that's not.
I get it. I get that. I get it, and I understand. And like we were saying off air, I feel like, you know, a comedian does have a responsibility, just like any other person, you know, to look, and especially, listen, if he didn't know, I think that's one thing. If he knew, I think it's a whole other thing. You know what I'm saying? You know, if he didn't know and he's like, damn, I didn't know, I wouldn't have said that if I knew. I think that's one thing. But if he knew and he said it, I think it's, you know, just kind of insensitive. But I do think, you know, every person that's in the public eye, you can say what you want, but you got to be ready and willing to deal with the consequences. And, you know what I'm saying? But I think, you know, just out of respect for people that you work with, you know, people that you love, you know what I'm saying? You should, you know, just be a little tactful. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not saying that the joke was like terrible. He didn't say a terrible joke, but you got to be tactful and just understanding, you know, some things about, just understanding some things. You know what I'm saying? I'll give you the perfect example, right? Because we're bringing Big Bubba into the screen, okay? And I'm saying this seriously, ladies and gentlemen. All right, I'm saying this seriously when I say this. Me and Big Bubba did we played a basketball game against each other, right? And we videotaped it and put it out there. And I had a point, and I can say this now because he's in shape, right? But I had a point in the video where I said something about his body, right? And when I was editing the video, I was like, you know what? I'm going to cut this part out because I feel, you know, although we were both there and I know he's a good guy, can handle jokes and stuff like that, this joke that I said and I put it out publicly might be crossing the line. You know what I'm saying? So I didn't put it out. You know what I mean? And, you know, and knowing him, he probably would have been cool with it. but I just felt like it might not go there. There was, there was enough in what we already had as far as, videotape and stuff like that where it would already be funny. That wasn't something that I wanted to joke about. So, I cut it out. And it's just me just trying to be mindful of, how he might feel about a certain situation. You know what I'm saying? Big Bubba, what's going on, man?
Hey, man, no, I appreciate that, Sam. See, people concentrate and believe you love me. It's okay.
I do. I love this man. I love this man.
No, I love you too, man. So, no, and Sam, it's tough, right? Because I had a conversation with my best friend, right?
Mm-hmm.
She hung up the phone on me because I was her feelings about it, which was more. She was more in the sense of saying like how it was just distasteful and everything. Like I was trying to explain to her that it's a tough situation because comedians, they're artists, and they have to. Being a comedian is honestly probably one of the hardest artistry to have because when you do live shows, your jokes really can't hit sometimes. You could write a whole hour sketch, a whole hour comedian thing, and the jokes won't hit. It's tough. You do this a lot of fried people, so sometimes you got to interact with people. Sometimes you have to deal with things, and everybody's not built for that. Everybody can't take a joke. I mean, of course, we have relationships, so if you would have kept that joke, and I would have felt no type of way. But everybody's not like that. I know big guys that are extremely sensitive. Mm-hmm. I know guys that won't wear certain things because they just don't want to show off their shape. You know what I'm saying? So everybody's a little bit different. Everybody's different. Everybody has a limit. That's the thing, right? Everybody has a limit. Even comedians have a limit about what they want to say, or how they want to say things about them. Because look, someone in the comments said, "Yo, Will Smith could have talked about Chris Rock failed marriages. He could have made a joke about that, and Chris Rock might have felt some type of way." But it's this whole situation is just so tricky because I see it from both sides, right? I see that Chris Rock is a comedian because if we start doing this, because already now we live in an age where comedians can't talk, where comedians have to watch what they say. And honestly, this was maybe I could go back to 2010, 2011 before this this whole quote unquote cancel culture where you could say what you wanted. Comedians weren't held to a standard of you got to watch what you say. Now it's more like you have to watch what you say. You're gonna offend somebody. When to me I'm a little different because the art of comedy to me is about a comedian being the one to bridge the gap between I'm thinking this, but they're actually saying it for me. They can actually say what I want to say. Not saying that people wanted to say that about Jada, about her.
But see that's not exactly what I'm getting at about, did people want to say that about her? I think, like, for example, look at Jussie Smollett, right? He put himself in that situation. I mean, it's fair game. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, that's 100% fair game.
Right? Yeah. He did what he did. It's fair game. And, whether or not he likes it, he went out there, he put himself in that situation. And I'm not saying that Chris Rock was trying to hurt her feelings. You know what I'm saying? And of course, we got to find out, did he even know?
Yeah. And so to be real, I don't think we will know. Because, Chris Rock can be honest and be like, yeah, I didn't know.
I think Chris Rock, I think he's honest. I think he's kind of an honest dude. You know what I'm saying? And if he knew, I think he will come out and say, it's new and maybe what I said wasn't sensitive. If he didn't know, I think he'll come out and say, I didn't know, and I'm going to take him for his word for it.
Yeah.
I will take him for his word.
No, I agree with you. And again, Ray, it's like, see, you know what really bothers me? And I know we talked about it on the phone. What really bothered me was that like earlier during the thing, Regina Hall made a joke about the open marriage. And you see Jada and Will, they're laughing. They're like, oh, no. We're not gonna, but then it's like, and again, right, I do understand that this is a little different. Like they made that publicly known that they're in an open marriage and that, whatever she did with whoever she did it with,
right.
That's them. And it just, it kind of bothered me because it's like, would my big thing is, would Will Smith do this with a comedian like Godfrey.
Now that's another question that we ask, right? Would he do that to Dave Chappelle? Or would he go up and do that? I don't think so. I think, like me, me and Tony were having a conversation. I think every person kind of measures, how can I approach this person when I'm ready to. He might have said something. I don't know if he would have went up there and smacked them. Now about the other jokes, like you were saying, the only thing I would say, and I'm not gonna speculate either way. We don't know if maybe they, she called and said, hey, I got something I'm gonna say about your open marriage. Are you cool with that? You know what I'm saying? And maybe they say, all right, I'm cool. Don't worry about it. You know what I mean? I mean, you just never know. And I'm not gonna say that they did or didn't. I'm just saying you never know if that, happened or not. It could have.
Because that's my biggest issue. That like to me, like because Will Smith's like 6'3", it's about probably like 220. And Chris Rock's like what, 5'9", 5'8", maybe a buck
80, 70, buck 75 or something.
But
so I have another question. And I think this is a good one. If that was a white dude who said that about Will Smith, would he have done it?
Well, I see. So here's the thing, though, right?
Also, not only would he have done it, but would it have been considered a race thing? Because I don't think it would have.
So here's the big thing, though. I'm sorry, Tony. Okay. So here's the big thing, though, right, Sim? So I gotta say, yeah, because he did smack the dude that tried to kiss him. There's evidence that
okay. He did. I remember that. Right. He did, but that's a reporter, right? That's a reporter. Nobody cares about that reporter.
So
if that was like I asked Tony, if that was Jerry Seinfeld.
Ooh.
That was Jerry Seinfeld. Does he get up on stage and smack Jerry Seinfeld?
I think he checks him. He doesn't smack him.
I mean, yeah, I could agree with that. Maybe he checks him. I don't think he smacks him.
I don't want to get
multiple infractions though. We didn't take that into consideration with the white dude. You know what I mean?
True.
So the white dude would have to have had multiple occasions of referencing.
I do think he would have definitely tried. See, the only thing I don't want to get too deep on it because the only thing that bothers me is like I just wish Will wouldn't have hit him because it bothers me because it's just like how can I say this? Because to me, I don't live my standard of how white people see us. I don't live my life by a standard of how white people see us. I don't believe in that. I don't think that's a thing. I'm just upset because I feel like two black men should handle that better with each other. I'm more upset that they should handle that better versus the perception of white people seeing us in that manner.
And I'm not worried about if white people see us or not. What I'm saying is, does he give more respect to a white comedian? I'm not worried about what they think. I'm just asking that question. Does he give a different level of respect?
Yeah, I think he doesn't hit him though. I really do. I think I do think he will check them. He will. I just don't think he will hit him.
Yeah, I mean, you might be right, and I think I agree with you. If that was Jerry Seinfeld, I don't see him hitting him.
No, and see, but again,
also, like Tony said, you got to go back to maybe the history between the two.
Yeah, like I said, I was reading so, and I'm like, has Chris Rock said little shots about Jada Pinkett-Smith? Yeah, he has. I ain't gonna say he has.
Yeah,
he's hit her with little shots, and again, right?
Fair shots. Yeah, nothing over the line.
Yeah, and that's the thing too. Is like, but again, this is the thing about comedy, though, right, Sim? Is that
now one thing? I am Jarrell, my man Jarrell. He said Jerry wouldn't have told that joke, but let's just assume that he did, though. I mean, I agree with you. I don't think Jerry would have told that joke, but let's just assume that he
Andrew
did.
Schultz, he would have did it. There's a number of white comedians that I think would have said that same joke, and some people would have made a racial spin on it. I don't think it would have been a racial thing, even if, like you said, you're not sure if it only that condition only affects black people or not. but I don't think it was because I still feel like it wasn't targeting the condition. It was really a hair joke. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
Yeah. Hey, Tone, we're getting that cracking sound again. What was you was about to say something, Isaiah?
Yeah. So I do agree, Adra. I mean, he wouldn't, but hypothetically, yeah, Will Smith would just check him. Again, it's tough because jokes are so being a comedian, being a comedian and having jokes. You don't know how they affect everybody, right? They don't affect everybody the way you want it to. Some people laugh at them. Well, most people laugh at them. Majority of people laugh. Most people think. Some people think. Some people are like, okay, that wasn't funny, and some people get offended. That you get that mixture, and it's a one joke that you tell something. Yeah. So again, I personally, again, so I'm getting deeper in this because I just don't think it was this. I just think this was just the boiling point.
I agree with you. I agree with you 100%. I think there's more.
To me, this was more. To me, this was more of a Will making a statement to the world, like, "Yo, stop playing with me."
Yeah,
and
I agree.
And if you,
Isaiah, let me get to this caller real quick. Caller,
okay.
Caller, you live, man. What's poppin' with you?
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, yes. I was just in agreement. Just kind of want to piggyback what the other brother said. I think this was a boiling point to the joke. I felt that Chris Rock should have kept the joke at Will Smith instead of his wife. You know what I'm saying? Because, you know, if you're a comedian, you should know Will Smith could take that kind of joke. You know what I mean? And the look that was on Jada's face, man, she was really offended by that. You know what I'm saying? And, you know, as a comedian in that platform, Chris Rock should have been more understanding and been like, you know, well, let me just cut this joke short. You know what I'm saying? But he was going to just carry it on. And I'm from the old school, man, you know, where, you know, if you mess up, that's where you're going to get, if you act up, that's where you're going to get messed up. You know what I'm saying? And I don't know, you know, a granddaddy that's out there that wouldn't do something like that to what the extended Will did, man. So I salute him on that, man. We have to protect our women at all costs, man. Some stuff is not funny. And we don't know the person's relationship and whatever, everything they had behind that, you know, that took place. So, you know, it is what it is, man. Lesson learned.
Yeah, I hear you. Now, listen, I agree with Will protecting his wife. You know what I mean? And it's important, I think, for a woman to know that their husband is going to stand up for them. Do you agree with him going on stage in that situation and slapping him, or could he have yelled it out like, "Yo, you know, keep my wife's name out your mouth"? Could he have grabbed the microphone and said, you know, whatever? Or spoke to him backstage? I mean, could he have done it that way?
Here's the thing, man. You know, we don't know what those people go through on a day-to-day basis with Jada having alopecia. My girlfriend, she works with cancer patient women, and she placed the wigs on her head. We don't know what goes on with that. You know what I'm saying? Your emotions is probably high. Energy is high. Looking over, seeing your wife probably in tears, because if you go back and watch the clip, Jada was very offended, and they never showed Jada again.
Right.
I mean, what if she was over there crying? I mean, come on, my God, man. If you see your woman crying from a guy, joke or no joke, I'm gonna do. It's a natural reaction as a man to be a protector. He's gonna get up out his seat because there's nothing that can keep him from doing whatever he needs to do. You know what I'm saying? Because they never showed Jada again. And that's why I was telling my girlfriend this one. They never showed her face again, aside of how she looked. You know, what if she was over there crying? I mean, let's just keep it funky, man. If you see your wife crying after something like that, man, it's all jokes out.
Nah,
you know what I'm saying?
I hear you.
It's just a natural reaction.
Yeah. Nah, I dig it. I dig it, man. It'll make you really upset and want to do something. But hey,
man,
my man, I appreciate your call, appreciate your time. Thank you for your input. All right, no doubt. Ladies and gentlemen, please give us a call, man. 516-405-2246. The phone number is attached to the top of the YouTube chat. I'll put it on the screen someplace too, so that you guys can call in.
Hey, Sim.
Yeah.
So, see, this whole thing, right? It's making it hard. and I'm coming this from a more comedic side of things.
Mm-hmm.
Because I've done shows before. I've been with people that have done shows. I've been with people that have, they've been through it all. So it's like when you see things like this, it's tough because now to me you're gonna be again, right? Comedians know when not to say and what to say. Every comedian should know that. Every good comedian, let me say that, should know what not to say because there is a limit. Like, of course, you don't. I mean, you got to be good to do it. Like when I was talking to my best friend today, I was trying to tell her that, there's been jokes that Chris Rock has made that have been offensive, but he switched to people. Like I remember he was on a Saturday Night Live, right?
Uh-huh.
And he made a joke about 9/11 in New York, but he made it the way he worded it so beautifully, it was funny, and that could have offended a lot of people.
I'm sure it did.
Yes, right. It probably did, but he made it to be where it was funny. He turned the joke into it being funny. But again, right, this is tough because we're I don't want to say we're putting a cap on comedians, but it's like now more comedians have to watch what they say and watch what they do because now it's like, somebody can hit them or somebody can do this.
Well, I don't think like a general fan's not getting up on stage and doing anything, right? So I think what happened here is because this you go to a comedy show, I've been to a bunch of them, there's going to be security there. What happened here is you have another star getting on stage and they're expecting that star is going to, one, act accordingly and probably, grab the mic and have something to say, right? So they're allowing the star that freedom to get up on stage and be part of the show. One thing where the Oscars is probably like, oh, Will Smith is getting on stage. He wasn't supposed to get on stage right now. Let's let him talk. You know what I'm saying? And then that happens. I mean, I'm not saying it can't happen, right? Obviously, anything can happen. You know what I'm saying? We've seen all kinds of wild stuff going on over the last few years. You know what I mean? Anything can happen. I mean, they was tearing down the Capitol building, so anything can happen. You know what I mean? But for the most part, you get into a small comedy club, you got some security there. Unless you're at a like a little hole in the wall spot that can't afford the security, and they're using you to try to build get some people in the building. But I do understand what you're saying. It makes room for other stars to do some of these type of things, maybe.
Yeah, because again, right? It's just to me, it's like, again, was it the I thought it. I don't know. It's just. It was to me a passing joke, and then because he really was going to move on to the next joke, he was really about to move on. But I mean, you did see her face. Her face was upset. You clearly saw that she was upset with the joke. But again, right, it's
a tough situation. It's a tough situation. I still just feel I'm glad he protected his wife. I just feel like he should have just either said something on the mic or had a conversation backstage.
Yeah, because to me, to not even,
you know what I'm saying?
To me,
that's what I think.
One thing that bothered me with Will Smith was that you gonna apologize to the Academy, you gonna apologize to your peers, but you can't apologize to Chris Rock. Like, okay, my thing is, okay, we all seen the picture of him talking to Tyler Perry and Denzel.
Uh-huh.
I think at that time, or at least, I know maybe the tensions were high, maybe the adrenaline was rushing. But I felt like you should have pulled Chris to the side and be like, yo, man, look, maybe, during the break, because clearly they had a break during the Oscars, that's why they were talking.
First of all, if I'm Chris, you're not pulling me to
exactly.
We go to the back. We can go to the back and square up. You're not pulling me. You're not pulling me to the side.
You're not pulling me to the side to apologize. Nah, that's what I'm saying.
An apology ain't doing nothing right now.
Yeah. I want more than an apology, bro. Nah, that's not happening because if you come to apologize to me, I'm probably gonna smack you now. Now that I really came to my senses and the shock is over, I'm probably gonna smack you if you come near me. If you come near me, I'm like, yeah.
But you know what, Sam? I think Will Smith, what he should have did was at least apologize to Chris publicly. Because you honestly humiliated him publicly.
Yeah.
Like you slapped him in front of the whole world.
Yeah. I think he will. I think he will.
No, I 100% think he will. And I do think like Chris Rock is gonna be like, that's cool. It's all right. He's gonna make a joke about it. He probably joke about it.
Will.
Listen,
he's gonna joke about it and joke on himself. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, listen, man. Listen. I'll be honest with you. People got to put a lot of respect on Chris Rock's name. That dude, to me, he's in my top 10. In my top 10 comedians.
Without a doubt.
But it's just again, right? It's just I see both people's sides. Like, of course, like if that was my wife and she cried, listen. First of all, let's be real. I mean, I know you're married. My father's been married for a very long time. You don't want to hear your wife's mouth in the car saying why you ain't do nothing.
Exactly. You just gonna stand there and let them talk about me like that?
Hey, hold on, Sid, that's worse.
That's worse. Yeah, for real.
Yo, they definitely went home. They definitely went home together that night.
Oh yeah, yeah, no doubt.
They wasn't doing a separate thing that night.
Right. Let me ask y'all this: do you think there's going to be any other repercussions for Will? I mean, this is a small thing, whether he cares or not. There's some speculation that the Oscar could be taken away from him. The Academy tweeted out about 1:00 in the morning, said the Academy does not condone violence of any form. Tonight, we are delighted to celebrate our 94th Academy Award winners who deserve this moment of recognition from their peers and movie lovers around the world. Some people say, hey, that's kind of a cryptic tweet, to say that we don't condone any kind of violence. Do you think he could lose the award? I don't think he even really cares. Once you're recognized for it, right? People know who got it. You know what I mean? But other than that, Chris Rock isn't pressing any charges. Any other backlash do you think comes Will Smith's way from this? Either one.
You want to go first, Tony, or you want me to go?
I don't believe so. I think he could easily. And I'm not advocating for this as a lie, but I think mental health has a lot to do with this, and that's the way out of any type of financial losses. And I don't think it would be a lie. I think he kind of lost it. He lost it momentarily.
He lost his parents, yeah.
So and we're human. It happens. I don't think it was right at all. And I'm for protect Black women, protect your woman, all that. I don't think in this particular instance, I think he stepped over the line, regardless of. It's only for the victim of the joke. You know what I mean? The butt of the joke to determine whether it was offensive or not, right? Like you can never determine that on your own. So, but again, it's all jokes, and it comes with the territory. So it's crazy. I don't think Will Smith gets any. I think it just gets talked about.
Yeah,
I don't think he loses any money behind it, any endorsements or whatever the case.
Yeah, I agree with you, Tony. I mean, at the end of the day, it's Will Smith. Even if they take the Oscar, it's Will Smith. I don't think this wasn't like we were like, it's Will Smith. I think what's gonna happen, same thing that happens with social media, is gonna be talked about for a week. They're gonna be memes, there's gonna be skits about it. You know what I'm saying? I mean, RC, I don't know if you guys know who RCDC is. They already made a skit about it. It's pretty funny. They're gonna talk, like I said, they're gonna talk about it maybe for like a week or two. Then Will's gonna apologize. Will's gonna apologize probably. Then Chris Rock's gonna take it, make a joke about it. That only way I think this goes deeper is if like we see Will explode on more people. Pause. If we see him go more,
yeah.
Because again, right?
Or if some other things happen.
Yeah, that's when I say, okay, this is because to me, I do agree with you, Tony. I think mentally that he's mentally, he's just, to me, he's not in the best.
Fragile.
He's mentally fragile because if you read his book, you read some of the things in there, man. Whoo, there's some stuff in there with Will, man. Also, too, man, you got to understand. Like he says this. He says this too. He says it so people understand that he's built the character of Will Smith.
Mm-hmm.
He's built it to where now people are trying to tear it down through his marriage, through his wife. And listen, man, he's put over 30 years into this person. You know what I'm saying? And there was a segment of his book where he says that hasn't been the real Will Smith.
That's a mental strain in itself. That's a condition in itself. When you're not being yourself, like who you are naturally, and you're trying to uphold a prestige image.
Yeah,
that takes a toll on you mentally.
I mean,
anyway, and you're liable to snap. You're liable to let your real your true colors come out at some point.
And Tony, listen to his speech again. Listen to what he said. He said that, as actors and actresses, that we take so much that, and then we have to portray like we're fine. He literally said it himself during his speech that we take so much, but people think we got to take it on the chin and act like we're fine. So again, right, I think if he doesn't really like I said, I have outbursts with other people and stuff like that, I think it's gonna die in like a week or two. It's like I said before, it's gonna be memes. Like you're gonna see the memes, you're gonna see all the it's gonna be funny. Don't get me wrong, it's gonna be funny, but it's gonna be like that, and then after a while, it's gonna die down. Like because it's gonna be another big thing that happens, and
SNL. Does SNL
100%
jump in and do something?
I was just about to ask you guys, do you think this message gets received, throughout the culture, or do you think it puts people in a place where they talk about it more and have more jokes on him, more jokes on his wife? Because I don't think the message gets received.
Well, I don't think they're gonna joke on Jada with that. I don't see that. I really don't. I don't see anybody talking about her having alopecia or anything like that. I think the jokes will be on Will Smith. I don't think anyone's gonna joke on Jada about that.
I think
but that's the thing. He didn't say anything about the condition. He didn't, and I'm not talking about Chris Rock. I'm talking about Will. He said keep her name. You know what I mean? So again, that's
right. But I think. Because one, he may not have wanted to, just put that light out there and saying, if someone, being married, right? If I know my wife is dealing with something and someone maybe knows and they say something, saying, like between me and that person, and I say, yo, watch what you're saying, they know what I'm talking about. And I may not want everybody else to know. And I may not want to put it out there publicly because that might have brought even more light on her that she didn't want at that moment. You know what I'm saying?
It's speculatory. It's speculatory.
Right.
It could be true, but I'm saying that we don't know that. We don't know if it was the actual joke. We don't know if it was the repetition of jokes. You know what I mean? Whether it's Chris Rock individually or the night in itself with other people.
Right.
So like we it's all speculatory.
Yeah, but I just don't see any jokes coming at her about that. I mean, I don't see people. There's models that have alopecia, and I don't see any jokes at all about it. I don't see why people would come at Jada about.
I wasn't referring to about her hair. I was just saying I think more jokes are coming. You know what I mean? Like a lot more jokes are coming.
Yeah, jokes are coming.
In general.
Yeah, jokes
they may
are coming
not
in general.
mention her condition or hair or anything. But I think the whole the entanglement thing, I think that comes back up even more now.
Yeah.
I think everything else, you know what I mean? He opened up the floodgates right now.
I think all of that. I think all of that's gonna come up. You know what I'm saying? All of those things are gonna come up. You know what I mean? I don't think anyone's gonna allude to that. You know what I'm saying? But I mean, all those things are gonna come up, and the jokes are gonna be there.
I can say, to go back to what you were saying, if SNL was true comedians, they're gonna make a skit about it. Not about the alopecia, but about Will Smith and
Will Smith. Yeah.
Yeah, about Will Smith. I think they're gonna do that. Of course, I think, like I said before, I think this is this is crazy.
What's today? Monday? It could be coming this weekend.
Oh
my God! It's gonna be a lot of people
100%.
watching SNL this weekend to see. You know what I mean?
Man, listen, man. I think they're gonna do it. Like I said before, you're gonna see on the social media. You're gonna see people, making TikToks about it, and people doing skits. I think, like I said, man, I seen this group I was telling you about. They literally made it last night, and they already had 1 million views. They're making a skit of Will Smith and Will Smith and Chris Rock.
Yeah. Now let me ask this last one before we get out of here. We went through everything that happened, et cetera, what the fallout is right now. We haven't heard from Chris Rock, but do you think this was staged? Seriously, though.
It was my initial reaction that it was staged.
That was my initial reaction.
And if it was, I wouldn't be surprised. And I think it would make a lot of sense on a lot of fronts. And initially, we agreed that it would look bad on Will if it was. I take the opposite stance on that at this moment after sleeping on it. I think it still benefits everybody if it was staged. I think there's no. I think everybody could benefit in some way, shape, or form more than something negative behind it. I think everybody could spin it in a positive if it was staged. So
I swear to you, Sim, I thought it was like it looked like a WWE, like when they punch each other.
Yeah, that's what it looked like. That's what it looked like.
If there wasn't no audio, Sim, about when he went back to his chair, because you know what makes me laugh.
But the thing is, if it was staged, they're actors. They know how to make it look real.
So, but you know what killed me though? Was the homegirl Lupita, the black chick. She was like, she kept looking like, oh, this is real.
Yeah, I know.
I'm sorry, that was
I seen her looking at like, the crowd was like that too, though, because at first everybody laughed, even when he went up there and smacked him. Like, I think the crowd thought it was staged too.
It wasn't like an awkward silence or awkward.
It wasn't like that.
Tony, it really wasn't. I swear to God, it took me out because Lupita looked back. She was like, "Oh, this nigga." She was like, her face was like, "Oh, this nigga's serious."
Yeah, listen, I'm telling you, I think the crowd thought that it was real. I mean, thought it was fake, thought it was staged, until Will Smith started yelling, and then all of a sudden you heard the like that.
No, Sam, it's crazy. So I mean, personally, I'm with Tony. I pray that Will Smith better hope this is real, because I think it will look bad. Because, like, bro, there's a better way to tell people, like, yo, bro, if you want people to stop playing on your name, take stuff serious, bro. Like, no, like, look, stop making jokes about the entanglement, and like, cause Sim, I mean, I follow Will Smith on Instagram. He makes jokes about the entanglement. He makes jokes about it. So if you want people to stop playing with your name, playing with your wife's name, bro, I'm not saying, look, Sim, you're married. I don't fully know about checking your wife, but I mean, you got to do something, bro. You got to do something.
I mean, well, one, if he's making jokes about himself, then obviously he can't get mad if someone else is making joke, especially in the public. But if this was staged, I mean, I think I disagree, Tony. I think it's a bad look. Will it hurt them monetarily? No, but I just think it's a bad look. You know what I mean? If it was staged between the Oscars, Chris and Will, I think it's a really, really bad look. In the end, it would look worse for the Oscars than anybody.
Okay, I agree with that.
You know what I'm saying? Because it's going to be like,
100%.
oh, you got to do this to try to get ratings.
Well, Sim, if you notice, the Oscars ratings get low every year.
Right.
It goes bad. It gets worse every year. Nobody cares about it.
And what better way to promote the Oscars than a great acting performance, right? You know what I mean? Like
Yeah, that's true. That's true, right? A great acting performance, right? That's true. You know, because you know, as I thought about it, I was like, all right, he goes on stage. I can understand why they let him go on stage because he's Will Smith. But after he does that, no security's around to jump on like, oh, snap, what's going down? Let me get up here. No security around to do that? He can just walk back to his seat, sit down like nothing ever happened, right? Have the interaction back and forth with Chris Rock like nothing ever happened, and then still go up there and get his award afterwards.
Yeah,
that part is weird to me. That part is weird to me. Because you would think after that, they would be like, oh, no, we got to get this dude out of here.
Also, right? You know what killed me too, that I was like, this is fake, was like, and I was talking to somebody, I was at the gym today, right? Me and him were talking. He was like, yo, there's no way you see a man coming at you. He's got his own cock back almost, and you don't block it?
And his hands was behind his back.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I think part of it is the shock of it. Like, oh, yo, he coming on stage. Like, this is not supposed to be happening right now because this is a script. You got a script, right? Yo, he's coming on stage. This ain't supposed to be happening. Oh, snap, he's getting ready to hit me. You know what I mean?
But Sim, if somebody's coming at you,
I get it.
Your first reaction if somebody's coming at you. So, okay, well, I was gonna say,
but when he came at him, he didn't come at him with his hands high. Like he was just walking towards him. Now, the one thing you can look at somebody and see, all right, this dude is upset. He's probably still not expecting he's gonna assault me on national TV with millions of people watching. He's probably still not expecting that.
So, Sim, here's the thing, right? This is what I might say stage. Chris Rock is a top 10 comedian, right? Like I said before, right?
Mm-hmm.
As a comedian, you're supposed to know body language. You're a comedian so quick, they look you up and down in 5 seconds and already got 10 jokes in their head about you.
Mm-hmm.
Already got 10 jokes about you. You know when somebody is coming at you.
I mean, listen, I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying. I mean, but that's all like the reason why I had to think about it. Like Jarrell's just saying right now in the chat, right? This man just went up. Obviously, he's another millionaire, right? But Will slapped the millionaire, sat down, and kept it moving like nothing happened. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. It then went back up on stage and gave an emotional speech and started crying. You know, like, what? And then just goes backstage, walks out. Nothing happened to no.
It's like he bipolar.
It's crazy. It's crazy. Like, where? No security? I mean, I understand that, like, it's all stars around the stage and this and that. You know what I'm saying? So they figure, like, well, there's no general public here. They're not going to rush the stage to try to get to the stars, et cetera, et cetera. Maybe. But still, like, no security around to, oh, snap, he did this. We got to get him off the stage. That's just weird to me, bro. Like, any other venue, any other place, someone's coming to take him off stage.
Well, Sim, here's the thing, though, right? Because if
do that at my bad. Do that at Madison Square Garden.
Oh my, Sim, I remember Sim.
Do it at the Garden.
We went and we had to start the shoot on. They said, "Oh, we gotta go. It's time for y'all to go."
Yeah, right. Do it at the Garden. Someone's coming to get you and escort you. You know.
So Sim, right? So this is another thing too. Like, because I remember when I went to the game with my father like a couple weeks ago. After you sit, you can't go down there no more. You can't go like near where other people sit. They be like, "Yo, where you going? You can't go here." They stop you. See, the thing is also too, if you look at a war show, sometimes when they pan the cameras, You can see security guards at almost every little thing.
Right.
Because
that's what I'm saying.
Because you know how sometimes, Sim, when they have award shows, they have the fans upstairs.
Right. People
Like you can't go where what's the name go? Oh.
Right. You know, people try to sneak in. People try to, all kinds of wild stuff. You know what I mean?
So again, right in this stage, I'm not gonna lie, because again, Sim, that slap, man. I watched a lot of wrestling as a kid. I know what a WWE punch looked like. When they punch a dude in his head, because they know how to snap it back at the same time. I don't know, man. If this is just for ratings, that's really corny.
Yeah, it is. It is. If it's for ratings, it's pretty corny. But
because
I guess we'll find out in due time if this was just for ratings. If it was, I think it was real. I think it was real. You know what I mean? And I'm just gonna say it was real. But if it came out that it was fake, it would be bad, and it would look worse on the Oscars than anybody. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because to me, it's still, what weirds me out too, though, Sim, is that, and again, I know it's a little different because it's the health, but you have Regina Hall make a joke about your marriage, and y'all were kikiing. It was funny.
But you just talked about it yourself, that they're joking themselves about it.
That's true.
So it kind of makes it different, but somewhere along the line, like we said, there's some history together. They got some history. You know what I mean? I'm pretty sure there's also plenty of pictures out there with the three of them hanging out together. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of pictures out there with the three of them hanging out together. So
wait, do they really hang out? Do they hang out?
I mean, well, I guess I shouldn't say hanging out, but in the same place, taking pictures together. I'm pretty sure, they're very familiar with each other. You know what I mean? So you just never.
And they hang around the same people.
Yeah, of course. Right. So it's crazy. But ladies and gentlemen, it's been a great conversation. I got to get ready and prepare to do the game preview. All right. So, for the, the Knicks play tonight. So I got to do my game preview. I appreciate you all for jumping on. Those who called in, I appreciate you. Just look for more content from the front stoop, man. We're hitting you daily with content. We'll probably hit you with something else later on today. We might not be live, but pre-recorded. So make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Like we said, new content will be dropped daily. Interviews from independent artists, new music from independent artists. We're taking a whole a different way that we approach underground radio. Instead of just playing music and talking about the music, we're actually having those artists come in. So it'll be a lesser number of songs and videos that we play, but we'll have more interaction with the artists. So just be on the lookout for that, ladies and gentlemen. And we're gonna get up out of here. Any last words before we jump up out of here? I start with you, Big Bubba. Now come to Tone.
Man, when I come to Maryland, I'm gonna smack you.
Okay. I ain't Chris Rock. You might not leave Maryland. You trust that? Or if you do, you ain't gonna be leaving with your two legs.
Hey, Sid,
you might be in a body bag or a wheelchair.
Hey, Sid, it's gonna be you, Joe, the dog. The dog gonna jump me.
So yeah, Tony.
Shout out to the chat. Peace, Isaiah. I just want to comment on a lot of people is like, was Will supposed to smack Amy or smack Regina? No, but Jada Pinkett could have went up there like Peaches from a Low Down Dirty Shame and put her hands on one of them girls. So your blackest time. I'll see y'all later.
Doubt. We out, ladies and gentlemen. Be peaceful. We appreciate y'all. And we out of here. Peace.
どうなんでしょうか。
Wow. Will Smith just smacked the shit out of me.
ウィル・スミスにやられました。
Wow, dude. It was a G.I. Jane joke.
G.I. ジェーンのジョークだったんです。
I'm going to.
あら、どうなんでしょうか。
Wow.